Hey up, I'm the Yorkshire Time Lord, and this is my alternate personality with my review of Moon Knight. Don't need that anymore. Okay, so Moon Knight, I thought was an absolutely outstanding series from Marvel Studios. Well. I mean, Oscar Isaac, absolutely fantastic picks with playing Stephen Grant and Mark Spector. Basically, Mark Spector suffers from multiple personality disorder, and he created his own character of Stephen Grant. And they're basically two distinct personalities in the same body, but the way that Oscar Isaac plays it, it makes them seem like two completely different characters. It's an absolutely fantastic performance, and you forget, really, that it's the same actor playing both Mark and Stephen. It just feels like watching two completely different actors. I don't know how on earth he does it, but if this was a film, he would be winning an Oscar for Best Actor for sure. And then you've also got Ethan Hawke as Arthur Harrow as well, and that's another phenomenal performance. He's so sly and manipulative as Arthur Harrow, and it raises so many interesting questions, so many philosophical questions about, what Arthur Harrow is doing. Basically judging souls who are going to commit evil acts before they commit the evil acts. And it's that whole kind of thing of, if you could kill Hitler as a baby, would you kill him before he did all the stuff he did during World War II? Which is always a really interesting thing to explore. It's something that's been done quite a few times in genre television, and for very good reason. And, I think it's one of those kind of villain motivations where you can kind of see where he's coming from. On one hand, he is basically killing people before they kill a whole lot of other people, so he's saving innocent lives in the process. But on the other hand, he is killing innocent people before they've actually done the deeds he reckons they're going to do, which is, a pretty evil thing to do in and of itself. Obviously, Moon Knight, it basically takes a very firm stance against Arthur Harrow's actions. It says that what he's doing is wrong, which it is really, but you can see why he believes in what he's doing. And he wants to basically awaken the god Amit as well, who basically is the one who judges the souls. Which, is a really, cool villain motivation, the fact that he wants to bring to life this pretty shady Egyptian god and serve as his avatar. And it's quite an interesting idea. I mean, the whole notion of Egyptian mythology within the series is really quite fascinating. The way that this show builds on the lore and the mythology of the sort of Egyptian stuff, and introduces Egyptian mythology to the Marvel Studios universe, is something that we haven't seen before in the MCU, and it's really neat to see here. You've got all these really quite fascinating Egyptian gods, such as Amit and Khonshu, and also Tara, who's like a giant hippo. I love that giant hippo thing, absolutely great. And, you have this whole kind of really interesting idea of people becoming avatars, acting on behalf of these Egyptian gods. Later in the series, we get Mark's love interest, Layla, acting as an avatar for Tararet. And she adopts the mantle of the Golden Scarab, which is really cool to see. She has a really great costume there. And there's like a young girl that says to her, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" And she says, "Yes." That must have been such a great moment for Egyptian viewers of Moon Knight. I bet they must feel like they've finally got a superhero that they can look up to, which is always great to see. It's great to see that kind of representation on screen. And I'm happy for these more diverse communities getting heroes that look like them. And one of the things that I really admire about this show is it takes this really great ambiguous approach to whether Mark and Stephen's superhero exploits are even real or whether they've actually made it all up. In episode 4, we see Mark end up in a mental institution, basically implying he's been in a mental institution all along, and that the Egyptian adventures we see him go on are actually fake and made up in his mind. and even Hawke's character is basically the psychiatrist in this mental institution. And I really like that because it ties into the multiple personality disorder and the fact that, Mark's got his very fractured mind. And whilst they do suggest later on that the mental institution is basically like an Egyptian afterlife, there's still that sense of ambiguity from the multiple personality disorder. Mark and Stephen are essentially unreliable narrators. How much can we actually trust from what they're seeing? How much of it is actually happening? And how much of it is actually fake? That's something that, really does raise some very interesting questions, unlike anything we've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe before. Tara, in herself, the giant hippo, she brings in some very, very interesting ideas too. She basically arrives at the end of episode 4 and ushers in episode 5 Mark and Stephen onto this boat, where she tells them that their souls are going to be judged based on how good or evil they are and how balanced their souls are, to determine whether they're going to go to the field of weeds or whether they're going to be taken by these creepy mummified creatures. And I think that's a really great notion, because what it does is it allows us to explore Mark's backstory in a way that makes sense for the narrative of a show. Basically, they have to go through Mark's past to try and balance their soul and learn more about why Mark created Stephen, in order to try and create a more sort of balanced person, in a sense. Create a person who is basically fully aware of who they are and how their past sort of actions have led to who they are today. And it leads to a really, really tragic backstory for Mark. I mean, he not only basically caused the death of his brother, but he was also domestically abused by his own mother, who was drunk. I mean, my God, that's some very dark territory for Marvel Studios to go to. I didn't expect them to go into such dark corners like that, to really traverse such dark areas and dark aspects of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Really, really, really quite dark, that. My God. I mean, poor Mark going through all that domestic abuse from his mother. And you can sort of see why he created that Stephen Grant personality. And then later on, because he doesn't, because he's grieving for the loss of his mother, and he wants to believe that his mother is alive, he basically takes on the personality of Stephen Grant again and pretends that his mother's still alive. I mean, you think what his mother did to him, domestically abusing him like that, and also being drunk while she did it. And he was a kid at the time as well. I mean, that's a very forgiving personality. He's very forgiving to, basically pretend that his mother's still alive and want her back, despite what, his mother did to her. I mean, he still loved her, and he still cherished her, despite that domestic abuse that he received at the hands of his mother. It's really, really dark stuff from Marvel Studios. And I think Moon Knight also has the best final episode of any of these Marvel Studios productions. I mean, you look at that final episode of Moon Knight, it has absolutely everything that you could want. You've got an absolutely epic final battle between Mark, Stephen and Arthur Harrow. And you've got that absolutely badass fight between Khonshu and Amit as well, who takes the form of a giant crocodile fighting Khonshu. That's the epic fight between Khonshu and between Khonshu and Amit, where he takes on Amit as a giant crocodile. Absolutely badass fight. That I loved that fight against the iconography of the moon. Really, really striking iconography with the moon in the background as a backdrop while they fight. Got to absolutely love what they did there. And then, obviously, you got that absolutely fantastic final reveal. Jake Lockley as a third personality to Mark and Stephen. So Khonshu is essentially still using him despite promising to set him free. You wonder how Mark and Stephen are going to react to that when they find out, because there's got to be a second season rather. There's got to be a second season and or a film. Surely, even though we haven't confirmed it either way. God, I mean, I know so many people were speculating that was going to happen, but yeah, it's. I know so many were speculating that there was going to be that, third. That there was going to be that third personality, and that it makes sense for backdrops as well. And even realised about how violent. They neither really realised who was doing the violence. So it would be interesting to see what happens when they discover that it was actually Jake Lockley. They're not going to be happy about that, especially when Namek is essentially using him. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Moon Knight. What did you think about this thrilling Marvel Studios series? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Wait. Hang on here. What's going on here? This is my channel? I do the videos? I'm just giving the viewers what they want. A review on Moon Knight. Is that really a bad thing? Well, yeah. This is a Doctor Who channel. This is not a Marvel Studios channel. Says the person who did a video on I'm a Celebrity the other week. Yes, well, that was different. I mentioned Colin Baker, who, unless you've forgotten, played the Sixth Doctor in Doctor Who, so there was a Doctor Who connection, thank you very much. Yeah, well, in case you've forgotten, Joseph Milson, who played Alan Jackson in Doctor Who and the Sarah Adventures, remember him? He was in Moon Knight as for Stephen Grant from Tomb Buster. So yeah, my video has a Doctor Who connection too. Fine, whatever. You win this time, I guess. But if I see you making any more videos on my channel, we are so done. Do you understand? Doesn't exactly seem fair, but whatever. Hey, did somebody say YouTube? Oh God, it's the flipping Yorkshire League or whatever he likes to call himself. Can't wait for his review of Peacemaker on my channel next week.